Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. I am Sweets, and we are on with Ed, Jersey Ed, in his Hawaiian shirt. And today we have a guest we're going to jump right into, right?
Yeah, we're going to jump right in, bring Beth Jordan right in. She's a reoccurring guest. Hey, Beth, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Ed. How are you?
Good. You are in the heart of, we won't go touch that subject, but you are in the heart of Minnesota where, bite those tongues. This is a family show. Well, you know, my thoughts and prayers are out to everybody out there. And the Podfather he's in some surgery today. So he's down for the count today. So we're having you fill in for him. You have some big shoes to fill in. So
yeah, I'll do my best.
Thanks. So what we do is one show out of the month, we do police stories from the field. And the Podfather, being almost 40 years in the police field, he has some good stories. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not a cop. I have nothing to do. Well, I did, but way back when, but it was on the other side of the law. Sweets is the same thing. And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this. So, of course, I knock on Beth's door, and she says, yeah, I'd be happy to tell some stories. So you and I were going a little bit over. Well, Beth, you're out near Minneapolis, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. You are a therapist for first responders, and you do an excellent, wonderful job with our first responders out there. Thank you for all your hard work that you do. And you were a first responder. You were a police officer in your past life.
Yes. I did that for going on almost 22 years. I was also a licensed EMT.
Okay.
So I started out working on an ambulance crew and migrated into law enforcement and stayed there until an off-duty car accident stopped that career. So,
Oof.
You look at your resume and you say, what does my resume say? And my resume said, I chase things, I scream at things, I shoot at things. So of course I became a mental health professional.
That's what we do well. We do all that well. Chase, you don't shoot at things, but there's some people we want to shoot at in this mental health field. So.
And I can chase down my clients when they disappear.
There you go. Exactly. And a little bit more about Beth, and I experience this firsthand when I go out there to Minnesota and see her. She's a black belt in karate. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. So she put this hold on me that dropped me in the middle of a fucking restaurant. I was like, holy shit, man. And she's like, yeah, I didn't have to do much to get you down. And she didn't. So Beth is well accomplished, and her and I sit at dinner along with Scott sometimes, and we go through all these stories. And my thought was bring you on to tell some stories from the field, because you do have some really, really good stories of the 22 years that you've been a police officer. I always try to keep the stories like lighthearted, because there is a lot of crap going on in the world today. And, the officers that are listening, I think it's good for them to hear some of the good stuff out there, especially the young officers when they go in there, they're Joe Cop and they want to, save the world. And there are some good times out there that they can have. It's not every shithead in the world that you're, taking down and doing.
It's funny because our brains are actually wired to pay more attention to the negative things, the bad calls and stuff like that, because bad things hurt you, good things don't. So we're automatically wired to already pay more attention to the negative stuff. And we take this natural tendency, put you in a uniform and train you up to a very high degree of what's wrong with this picture. And it's one of the things that can start to erode an officer's or any first responder's resiliency, because you stop paying attention to the funny stuff and the fun stuff and the things that really don't matter a hill of beans, but make our lives what they are. And one of the assignments that I often give my clients, especially if they've got PTSD from their work, is an assignment called GLAD. And it's just a little acronym. And I ask them to do it at the end of each day, and it helps rewire them to pay more attention to positive things. So the G is gratitude. What are you grateful for today? I'm grateful it's not 90 degrees, it's only 88.
That's good.
What did you learn today? I was looking something up online. We have a suburb here called Golden Valley, and I kept putting in Golden Valley, and it kept giving me Arizona. And it finally sunk in that, yeah, that makes sense. I bet there is a Golden Valley in Arizona. So I've learned that there is a suburb called Golden Valley in Arizona.
There you go.
What have you accomplished? What did you accomplish today? Well, I haven't done it yet, but as soon as I get home, I've got some reorganizing and moving to do because we're doing some home projects, and I'm excited to get that done because I've been waiting on this piece of it for some time. So that's great. And then the last one is D for delight. What is delighting you today? And it could be something as simple as I saw a hummingbird out in my garden before I left for work. And it really is about looking for the little things or the things that we would naturally categorize as maybe meaningless. But those are the things that really stabilize us. And it helps us because after 20, 30, 40 years in the field, you stop remembering the funny stories.
Yeah.
And
and it centers you, and that's a good way to get centered daily. Be glad, be grateful, learn, and be what'd you say, accountable, accomplished, and delight. That's good. That's good. So yeah, I mean, like you and I were talking on the phone last night, that police officers don't get called out to help the little lady across the street. It's usually a drug bust or somebody bad car accident, or whatever the case may be. And I can see how that can definitely help, especially those young guys that are coming right out of the academy. Man, they are pumped and primed to be a cop. They are Joe Robot cop when they get out of that academy, and they don't have to be. I mean, of course you have to be vigilant. You have to be aware of your surroundings at all times, especially being a police officer. But there are times you can stop and slow down and help that little old lady across the street or whatever the case may be. Have you ever helped a little old lady across the street? You have a story about that.
Not quite a little old lady, but we did get a call one day from a neighborhood because somebody there had identified a raccoon in the neighborhood as being rabid.
Oh, geez.
And they wanted me to go handle this. And I'm like, okay, I'm not. Best I can do is shoot the thing if I can find it, right? And if you've ever tried to kill a raccoon, they are very difficult to kill. I know people who've had to shoot them multiple times because they are built to last. So I get out to this neighborhood, and it's a nice suburban neighborhood, and they, a couple of families have pools, and the whole group met me at the end of a driveway, and they said, yeah, there's a rabid raccoon, and we're terrified to let our kids out of the house. And I said, well, how do you know it's rabid? Well, every time we poke it hisses at us.
Jesus Christ.
And I said, well, honestly, if you poke me with a stick, I'm going to hiss at you too. Said, what else do you have? And they said, well, it likes to eat food out of the dog's dishes in the kennels, and it likes to do this. I'm like, okay, but what raccoon wouldn't? And they said, and it comes out during the day, and that's always a sign of rabies. I'm like, not necessarily. I said, do you know where the raccoon is now? And they scattered, and they found the raccoon, and somebody had their driveway was sunken, so the roof of the garage came down within a couple feet of the actual backyard.
Okay.
And the raccoon was up on the roof of this garage. So I went back and I looked at it, and it's not foaming at the mouth, and it's not acting weird, and it's not charging me, and it's not hissing or doing anything else. But when it looked at me, I could see its eyes were clouded over. It was blind.
Oh, no.
So this is why it's out during the day. It has no sense of light or dark.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going after an easy food source. And I explained this to them. I said, I think you've got a blind raccoon here, not a vicious one.
Don't
And,
poke at it.
stop poking it with a sharp stick. And in fact, they all felt so bad that they adopted the raccoon and they started
Oh,
feeding it from the neighborhood and like keeping
oh,
track of it so it wouldn't get hurt.
oh.
You know,
That's a
it's
great story.
silly
That's the
little things like
stories.
that.
Yeah, but that had to make your day, knowing that you maybe have to go shoot this thing, and now here it is. They're all happy, and they're all
Yeah.
kind of the neighborhood took this raccoon on now.
And it helps them to see it from a broader perspective. You know,
Mm-hmm.
their assumptions are raccoons are dirty, horrible beasts, and they're going to kill all of us.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I live out in the middle of nowhere, and there are raccoons everywhere, and they leave us alone. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not around wildlife, you're not going to understand some of these things. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have these experiences, you get very caught in very rigid thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes what we need is to get that broader perspective. And it's amazing how much we stop being reactive or taking things personally when
Mm-hmm.
we realize it's not has nothing to do with us.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And also the other thing, the other moral to that story is that you were a community officer at that point. You helped bring that community together. Instead of going in there, God, what if you would have shot that thing? And oh my God, the police officer, she came here and shot it. But you brought that community together. You made them realize that, we just don't have to come in and do it this way, and
Yeah.
you probably made a bunch of friends for life over there, I'm guessing. So.
Yeah, it gets to be one of these when you can handle something or problem solve, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a skill that we've kind of handcuffed our officers so they don't get to problem solve, they get to make an arrest or create statistics somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But because if you solve the problem, there's no report, there's no ticket, there's no arrest,
Yeah.
there's no statistic.
There's no measuring it anyhow. Yeah. You can't
Right,
measure
but
that raccoon being alive and happy now. Yep.
right, and that's not something that we can say the department is doing a good or a bad job. But,
That's right. To get
honestly,
funding for,
if
you can't get funding for the
right,
raccoon to be nice to the
right.
raccoon.
And some people would look at that and say that was a waste of time and you should have just shot it so that we don't get any
Oh,
more calls. Or
yeah.
okay, I understand that, but that's going to traumatize that neighborhood then.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's going to be the longer term answer? And when you allow people to do some problem solving, get creative in their thinking, it makes more of a lasting impression.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
they got involved with the community. They got involved with you. It was a problem solving for the whole community. I remember a story that you telling Scott and I at dinner one day, and I believe it was a cow story, if I remember correctly. Was that you?
the cow story.
The cow story about the cow getting out. Was that you? Make up one here, Beth. No, just kidding.
It might have been because my first few years were in a very rural area, and I learned very quickly you do not chase animals that have escaped, you round them up. Because if you chase them, they just run further. So I got very good at herding animals back to where they belong.
Listen, all you young officers, you need to round up animals. Don't chase them.
Do not chase the loose cow. It's not going to go well.
Exactly. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back. I got a couple other questions for you about maybe community and how you got along with some of the people in the community, that you can kind of give some of these younger officers some tips on being part of the community and not just that figure, that authoritative figure. So
sure.
Take a quick break answering the call of First Responders Podcast. We'll be back with Beth Jordan after these words.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I'm Jersey Ed here with Beth Jordan and Sweets in the studio producing this whole mess that we call a podcast. Thank you, Sweets, for doing that for us. And I'm sure you'll make us sound really, really good after the production is done. So Beth, we were just before we listened to that wonderful Genesis House commercial. We were just talking about maybe possibly talking about being part of the community, community police officering. Is that something that you did a lot? I know you were in very rural areas and probably few far between, but becoming, basically branding yourself out there as a person and not so much as an authoritative figure, so people can feel comfortable around you. Is that something that you would suggest doing, or something that you did do in your career?
Yeah, my first boss did not want to see paperwork. He wanted us to go out and solve problems and connect with the community in a way that if there was a problem, people wouldn't hesitate to call us. And granted, this was, 30 some years ago and far, far away from here. But I think the principle is really good, that you get to know people. You if you've got a beat or you've got, businesses in your area, you stop in, you get to know the managers. You ask
Yep.
them, how's business been? How are things going? Is the traffic congestion affecting your business? You get to know the bigger picture of what's going on and what people are struggling with, and you help the community connect those dots. And we've gotten to such an industrialized version of law enforcement. How many tickets did you write? How many contacts have you had? How many? It doesn't work. It pisses off the community. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to see people take the time, stop with this. You got 5 seconds to answer me, and then we're going hands-on. Let's get rid of that thinking and go down to, how do I be the grown-up in the room? And, one time, not out in the country, but here in the city, we had a call of a suspicious person, and it was a black male outside of an apartment building.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I saw him, and he was basically like hiding behind a tree. But we hadn't had any reports of anything. So I found out, who he was there with, and apparently these were both people from a foreign country.
Oh.
And they had immigrated here, but they still held beliefs and behaviors that were common in their country, which is natural.
Yeah.
So they had an argument, and one was behaving exactly the way and kind of like trying to put a curse on the other one. And I don't mean to make it sound witchcraft or anything. It was just, I'm going to go.
It was their culture.
Right. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do this thing. And it's, ultimately this is going to be bad for you. And other people had seen this and didn't understand it and didn't take time to know. And they said, there's this guy hiding behind trees, and it's after dark, and we don't know if he lives here, and it's scary. So I talked to the one who was inside. I said, can we sit down? Can we get him to come in and sit down? Let's talk. And my first question for them is, why? What is this? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And they explained their cultural piece to me, and I went, okay, that makes total sense. Here's how it appears to people who don't understand that. It did not occur to them that it would look hinky. And then afterwards, I was able to call the original complainant and say, this is a cultural thing. It has nothing to do with you, and they're not doing anything harmful, and there's there's no aggression involved. So this is okay. And hearing it's okay from an authority figure calmed them down enough that they stopped whining about it. Right. And I got a thank you from somebody at the building because I took the time to literally to sit down and say, what is going on here, as opposed to jumping to a conclusion. And one of the problems I'm seeing in this day and age is we're very fast to assign motivation to other people.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
If you do that, you don't like me. Or if you look that way, you're angry. Or
if you
that's
stand
not
this way, you're yeah, I know. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Or you buy this because you think you're rich, or you think you're poor, or, if you get help from the government, you're just trying to scam for free money.
No,
There's a lot of misinformation that comes from assigning motivation to people.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not fair. And
Well, I think
if we can stop doing that as the cops, you get a lot farther.
That'll bleed into the community. And that's actually, that's so true, is that the culture thing, you look at something like it, that's really weird. And here's my thinking, and I'm not, it's just so weird. I remember, I travel out to come see you from Pennsylvania, and I get on planes, and there's, every time I'm on a plane, there's always somebody with a face mask on. Like, God, that's so weird. Why do you do that? Well, you got a face mask on, you're hiding something, or that's, it's so weird. Now you can't go into a freaking store without a face mask. Now I understand it. Now I understand why that culture does that in our community. So I'm the first one to jump to that, as far as that goes. And you have to be a little bit more understanding. And you're right. And with a police officer, you want to jump to that conclusion. That guy behind a tree is doing something wrong. I'm going to pull my gun out and tell him to lay down and put his hands up, and whatever you guys do. But that would have not went over well with that person, because you were interfering in whatever that process was, is either to fix it or to make it better or to make him or herself feel better. And they weren't harming anybody,
Right.
Zero harming anybody. They were doing what they would do in their country. So yeah, I think we need to sit back and use our brains, I think, once in a while, not just our gut reflection. Even being a civilian, we should really think and use our brains once in a while.
Well, and you said you wanted some stories, so I've got a story that kind of highlights this jumping to conclusion or assigning motivation. That happened on a call that I went to years ago. It was very early in my career. Like I said, I worked in a rural area, and it had been a really very hot and dry summer, and we had a lot of hot boxes running through on the railroad that were starting grass fires and things. And there had been a grass fire in that area earlier in that day, and literally there were still cinders falling out of trees.
Oh my God.
So it was still a very somewhat dangerous situation. And at 3:00 in the morning, my partner would go off duty, and he'd always drive into my section and check on me at 3 before he'd go home. And he was the canine officer, like 6'4", big, heavy, dark mustache, like something out of the Wild West. Scary looking guy, very scary looking guy. And then, with the canine and the whole 9 yards. So he comes to check on me, and just as he's getting ready to say goodnight and go home, we get a call of a burglary in progress. Okay, well, keep in mind this was something years ago and way out in the middle of nowhere. And we both went, wow, we don't get a lot of burglaries in progress out here. And that address is way outside of town. So he said, I'm going to go with you. Just follow me. I know what house that is. And we drive out, and we're driving down roads, literally with fiery cinders falling on our squad cars, which of course gets us ramped up, because it's one of these, are we going to get trapped on the wrong side of a wildfire here?
Yeah.
We get out there, little house, and it's one of these situations where they had taken an old farmhouse and then bought like another farmhouse and attached it. So it, crazy little, nothing makes sense. And as we pulled up, we pulled up so that we were side by side, but I couldn't see the door because of a windscreen they had built, but my partner could. And I see him jump out and draw down and start screaming.
Oh,
and this man comes out, and he's waving a gun.
God.
And we both assumed, here's our burglar.
Yeah.
So I jump out, I draw down, we're yelling and screaming, and then somebody else comes running out screaming, not him, not him. Like, okay, so take a breath. No, this is the homeowner and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
We get them calmed down. They said, no, somebody broke into the house. They're still in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying, really, with all this racket, you really think they're still here? Yes, we know that they're in the house, and our children are still in the house too.
Oh, shit.
Okay, you two wait out here. My partner took the gun away from the homeowner. Turns out it was like a World War II relic that couldn't shoot. And we went in, but it's one of these little puzzle houses. Like I said, it was different houses put together.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like you walk in and there's a hallway with the bedrooms. It's you walk through this room and suddenly
Like the
you're in that
Winchester
room.
house.
Yes. So we go in and we're having trouble clearing the house because things double back into rooms you've already been in.
Jesus, God.
And all of a sudden we come into a room and here's the homeowner and his wife standing there. We're like, what are you doing in here? We told you to wait outside. And they're yelling and screaming about their kids aren't safe. I say, okay, well, where did you see him last? Well, he's in the back hall. Okay, where is the back hall? So they take us to this door and they say, he's on the other side of this door. And they're screaming because they're so ramped up.
Yeah.
And we're thinking there's nobody there. But we get them out of the house, take a position on either side of the door. We do the 1, 2, 3 through the door, guns drawn, and trip over a naked man on the floor.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And we just sort of look around and look at each other and we're like, okay, this is not what we expected.
He has a weapon, but it's not a gun that we would.
Not what you would think.
Exactly.
So the homeowners come back in again, that we just could not get them to stay out. And we said, do you know who this is? And they're like, no. Said, do your kids maybe know who this is? So they run upstairs, wake up their kids, and bring them downstairs. Their children are like 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would
they even know?
No. So send the kids back to bed. Now the kids are wired.
Oh.
And we said, was he naked when he broke in? No, he was dressed. I said, well, where are his clothes? We couldn't find his clothes.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we go and look. The back door is just off this little hallway, and there's this little chest sitting there. And I said, could you look around and find anything that doesn't belong to you and bring it here?
Mm-hmm.
And they found a shoe in a bathroom, and they found another shoe by the door, and they found a pair of pants in this little dresser, and we found a t-shirt underneath him.
Oh my God.
Notice we're missing a piece of clothing here.
Yes.
No underwear.
Yes.
Okay. And all this time, this kid has not woken up.
Oh my, he's out like a light.
He is out. And we can smell the alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
So my partner, big scary man, rolls the kid onto his side and decides, I'm going to wake this boy up and give him a piece of my mind. And he takes an open hand and just whacks him right between the shoulder blades and is screaming, wake up, wake up. And this poor kid is so drunk and so out of it that he just takes forever. And I can see my partner is leaving handprints on this kid's back.
Oh no. Oh my God.
He is so aggravated.
Not wanting to wake up.
The kid finally rolls over and looks up and he sees Scary Man with the big mustache and goes into shock, and and he can't tell us his own name. He can't remember who he is.
Uh-huh.
So I check his pants, I find his wallet, it's completely empty. There's not a thing in it except a little handwritten note addressed to Tim. And he's now passed out again, which is just pissing off my partner. So we get him woken up again, and my partner says, we need to get him dressed and out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obvious this is not a burglary.
Yeah.
Okay. So we stand him up. My job is to hold this guy up, and my partner's going to get him dressed. Well, he only comes up to about here on me. So I'm holding this kid up, and my partner gets his feet into the legs of the jeans and gets it up to a point and goes, there's a problem. I said, what?
God.
Just get him dressed. Let's get out of here. He's
get him out of here.
No, there's a problem. You're married. You should know what this problem is.
Oh, no.
And I said, okay, well, can you like grab the button and the buttonhole and like pull out and up really fast? So he tried that and he nicked the kid.
Oh,
Yeah, because we never found
oh,
his underwear, right? So
oh,
yeah,
oh
kind of
no.
doing the commando thing. So
Oh,
we get the jeans up, we take 2 steps, jeans fall down. We do this a couple of times. We finally find his underwear in the leg of the jeans.
oh my God.
So we get his underwear on, get the jeans all the way up. Little bit of blood there, just a
Oof,
little.
oof.
Okay. Get him out to my squad because my partner's a canine, so he can't
Yeah,
transport.
yeah.
And I take
Now
him
you
back to
got
the
this guy in a
station.
car.
I have to take him back to the station, call
Oh
for
my
a
God.
transport to take him to detox. Get him to the station, hand him his shoes and his shirt. I said, Tim, if that's your name, would you please put your clothes on and this time keep them on? And Tim's just, still has no idea who he is or where he is. He goes off to detox. And about an hour later, I'm meeting with another officer for coffee. And this enormous guy walks in. He's got to be 6'4", 6'5", and probably 300 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And he's just kind of hovering near us, making this other officer really nervous. And that officer this guy's up to something. We need to do something about this. And I look at him and he keeps glancing over at us. And I finally said, can I help you with something? And he said, yeah, I think I need to make a missing person report. I
Oh
said,
no.
oh, is his name Tim? He's about this tall. He likes to take his clothes off in strangers' homes. And he goes, what did he do? I said, okay, so where were you guys tonight? They went out
Oh my
drinking, bar
God.
hopping,
Uh-huh.
and their car broke down on the way home.
Oh shit.
So they decided they were going to walk to where the bigger guy works and get the
Uh-huh.
tools to fix the car. So they're walking down this dirt road that intersects with the railroad.
Uh-huh.
Big guy follows the road, goes to the repair shop, gets the tools. Little guy follows the railroad tracks.
Oh no.
Sees a farmhouse, thinks he's home. Nobody locks their doors. So he just let himself in, got undressed, and went to bed.
Went to sleep. Oh my God. Well, he got himself a free ride to the detox, which he probably needed.
And I never set eyes on that kid again. And
Oh
from
my
that day
God.
forward, that was Tiny Tim the Naked Burglar.
Tiny Tim. That's a good story. Tiny Tim. Well, that's going to be the name of this episode, Beth. Tiny Tim. Poor guy. now he's getting his junk aired on our podcast now.
Well, think about it. He woke up in detox, not knowing where he is, with bruises on his back, blood in his shorts, and the image of a very scary man in his face.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that is a crazy story. Well, it ended good. He ended up somewhere good. You guys didn't have to, and the families. Good God, I mean, that could have probably been me at one point. I'm guessing maybe that might have been me, but I don't remember. I don't remember it, but oh God.
But that's the truth. A lot of things that happen don't happen for nefarious reasons. A lot of things happen by happenstance.
Yes, exactly.
And if we don't buy into the hype and the emotional stuff, you can step back and go, oh, I see what's going on here.
Just laugh a little bit at it and get them the help they need. And the homeowners were probably happy. Probably took you 20 minutes to leave the house because you didn't know where the hell you were going. And that was it. So, well, Beth, thank you very much for coming on.
Absolutely.
I love your stories. I love hearing these great, inspiring, just happy stories that turn out well. We don't see that a lot in the news. We don't see that a lot in society now, unfortunately, especially with police officers. You guys are under the microscope. I'm not going to go into that, but it's always good to hear that. And I hope somebody gets something out of this. If somebody wants to reach you for help or anything, can you give them your number or your website and how they can?
My website is jordancnc.com. It's short for Jordan Consulting and Counseling. You can Google me, you'll find me. Otherwise, that you can also reach me through my email, either through the website or at beth@jordancnc.com. And I'm happy to answer questions. I cannot take people as clients if they are outside of Minnesota and Wisconsin, because that's where I'm licensed. But I'm happy to refer people to resources or information or books that they might find helpful.
Yeah, and Beth is one of the top-notch therapists for first responders in the Minnesota and Wisconsin area. People come from all over. I've we've worked together with people coming from hours away to come see you, and you do a wonderful job out there, Beth. And thank you very much for last-minute guest coming on and filling in for the Podfather and giving us a good story. So he has a run for his money today. So
Good.
Podfather, when you're listening to this, I might have a new host here on Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. So
you tell him to check his shoes.
Yes, I'll tell him to check his shoes. Beth is in town. So Beth Jordan, thank you very much. And Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I'm Jersey Ed, and everybody stay safe out there.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for sponsoring the show and supporting first responders who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.